Hey guys, it's Chandler, and welcome to the Healing Heroes.
I promise you.
I'm Chandler Stroud, an executive, wife, and busy mom of two, who after years of living with anxiety, health struggles, and an unshakable feeling like I should be happier, made a profound discovery that changed everything. Join me on a journey where unexpected paths lead to healing and more happiness. On this show, we'll explore unconventional ways to unlock more joy in your own life with the help of my very own healers and trusted advisors, the Healing Heroes. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Chandler, and today we are featuring another Healing Heroine episode, which is a format where I'll interview one of my very own heroes alongside a female client of theirs who they've helped heal and move through hardship, trauma, or tragedy. Today's episode is going to demonstrate what can happen when we get curious about ourselves and are open-minded about new ways that we can tap into our intuition for better self-understanding. You'll hear from Lauren Owen, an incredible business leader, mom, wife, and now friend who has navigated multiple traumas, including the sudden loss of her father, a life-threatening blood clot in her brain, and 2 emergency C-sections. Before we go deep into Lauren's story, let me tell you a little bit more about her background before we begin. Lauren lives in California with her husband and 2 kids and works as a VP at a property management and construction company. She's worked to heal, to build a life that's authentic, and coins herself a VP by day, but a soul seeker always. She's also a manifesting generator, which you'll hear much more about shortly. You'll also hear from our very own hero and human design expert, Zach Carlsen, who Lauren began working with as a result of her enrollment in the Healing Heroes Happiness Academy, which, for those who don't know, is the online digital community that I created, officially launching in September, that offers women a roadmap for how to find better health and more happiness while being supported by my heroes and like-minded women embarking on a journey of their own. Human design is a fun and insightful tool within that community for understanding yourself on a deeper level and helping you get back in touch with your own intuition. In a nutshell, if I've learned anything from Zach, human design is a self-discovery system and combines principles from astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, chakra systems, and quantum physics to map out how your energy is designed to move you through the world. It offers insight into your strengths, decision-making style, and life purpose so you can live in greater alignment with your true nature. I've interviewed our human design expert and hero Zach on the show many times before, but for our new listeners, here's a bit more on Zach's background before we dive in. He has been coaching and educating professionally for the last decade. The core and foundation of his work is human design. He holds advanced academic degrees in pedagogy, literature, and French, as well as certifications from Gallup Inc. in Clifton Strengths Coaching and SSC in Human Design Coaching. In 2021, he obtained his Master Coach certification from Elementum Coaching Institute. Today, we are going to see Zach's work come to life in a very real and tangible way, thanks to Lauren's willingness to share more about her experience with Zach and how human design has offered her fresh perspective in her own healing journey. Welcome, Zach and Lauren. I'm so happy you're both here today, and I am so excited to hear your insights on this topic. So thank you for offering your time.
Thanks for having us.
Hi. My first podcast, so.
Oh,
love it, Lauren. We are so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, let's get started with just a light warm-up question. Zach, what's something in your work that's felt really rewarding in recent weeks?
I would have to say it's the beginner's mindset, remembering that there's no finish line that we go through where the work is done. I found myself recently meeting with a really, really juicy pattern in my life that I thought was healed, resolved, integrated. And for the first time in a long time, I had that feeling of like, I thought I was done with this. Like, and I got frustrated. And then I remembered like, okay, there's still more juice in this lemon, and immediately just got to work, building up a new kind of perspective around it. How that relates to kind of the work I do in the world is I've noticed this as almost a theme now, is that when I start experiencing something like that, I notice it in my clients too. And so there are the interesting synchronicities there, which brings me back to kind of the magic of doing this work. Like there's a logic to it. There's systems we can train in, but I think there's also some mystery that kind of connects us and bonds us and puts us in the right conversations at the right time.
I love that sentiment. Thank you for sharing that. That's really cool. And I think we've all probably experienced that to some degree. Anyone in the healing space, right? Like, oh, well, that's still here. Keep on working. Lauren, with summer coming to a close, what's one thing you're really looking forward to this fall?
Besides pumpkin spice everything, I am looking forward to getting back into the routine, getting back into community, because I feel like it's summer. We all kind of go our own separate ways, and we're all like camps and everything, vacations, everything else that's just going on. So I feel like when we get back into our routine and back into our community flow and our community, I love that. I love that part of fall.
I totally agree. And the same thing happens here. Everyone sort of comes back from summer and then just you start seeing people again, whether at school or socially. It's really fun. So love that. Thank you for sharing. Lauren, before we dive into the specifics of your work with Zach, can I ask for you to walk us through your story in your own words to the degree you're comfortable sharing with our listeners?
Sure. So kind of 30,000 foot view, pretty typical childhood. My parents did get divorced when I was like 16, 17, 18, kind of a blurry time. I moved out to California just one day on a whim. I was like, I'm going to just go, bought a ticket, told my family like, hey, I'm going to California. I lived in Boston at the time. Going back, my dad was growing up, my best friend, marathon runner. Like he's run Boston, ran New York, just runner. Like that was his massive part of his identity. And then sometime in 2011, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to run a marathon. Like out of the blue, like I was never a runner. So decided to start training for this marathon. Obviously, my dad trained me. He's back in Boston, but on the phone every day. So I run a marathon. It was March 18th, 2012. And ever since like that day, one of the best things I remember about that was my husband had his phone, and like every few miles I would talk to my dad. Like he would hand me the phone. So I'd be running back. I'm at mile 7. I'm in Silver Lake. I'm in downtown. I'm in wherever. So finish the marathon, start planning like the next one. Okay, what are we doing next? Dad, I want you to come out. I really want to run a marathon with you. Like, let's plan something we can run together. So then Wednesday night, so the marathon was Sunday, Wednesday night, I'm driving home, and I can remember this so vividly, talking to my dad. I can like see where I'm at. And I'm like, oh, something doesn't sound right. I'm like, maybe he's just tired, kind of one of those things, just like a write-off thing. And, tell him I love him. Go home, tell Jeff, like, oh, he sounded kind of off, but probably just tired, like, right? Whatever. So go to work the next day, and I get a call at work from his neighbor, like, your dad's dead. Probably not the best way to hear that information.
Wow.
So I think I carried a lot from that, because I was like, I knew something was wrong. Like my intuition told me something was wrong, and I did nothing. So there was a lot of just guilt from that. And then a few months later, I started having this pain in the back of my head. It was almost like the only way I could describe it to Jeff or to the doctors was like, I feel like if you pulled a muscle in your brain, like that's what this feels like. And so I went to urgent care, and the doctor gave me some Vicodin, and he's like, yeah, go home. You'll be fine. And I was like, I remember like I never filled the prescription. I told him like, it's just not fine. Like there's something's wrong. Something's not okay. And I know my intuition is telling me something's wrong, but I didn't feel empowered or strong enough to like really stand up for myself at that point. So Jeff works in the medical field. He's talking to one of his doctors. His doctor's like, don't stress her out, but you guys need to get to a hospital right away. Like that could be something very serious. Like that's not a normal feeling. So get to the hospital. in the ER. I think we waited like 7 or 8 hours or something. Like, it was wild. Finally get taken back. They do a CT scan, do an MRI. They find out I have a blood clot in my brain. So go through that. I'm in the ICU for over a week. And if you've never been in an ICU, it is a scary place. They have like a 24/7 nurse with you, and just it was scary. So I get transferred out of the ICU into just kind of a more recovery unit. And luckily, like, thank God, no stroke, no impairments, nothing more than, like, we caught it like literally the perfect time it was caught. And due to some other family issues, like my family has close relatives have addiction issues. So I'm just very much like, don't give me opioids. Like, I don't want opioids. I don't want opioids. I don't want opioids. One of the nurses gives me an opioid. I take it. And all of a sudden I'm like, what was that? And I can't remember. And I can't remember what it was, but it was an opioid. So my mom was there at the time. I mean, you want to see a mama bear go crazy. So my mom just lost it. So this distrust now of kind of the medical system. So now I am, because of all of this, when I'm pregnant, it's a high risk pregnancy. I was also 35 when I got pregnant, 36 when I delivered my first son. So it's also a geriatric pregnancy.
We love those after 35, right?
And I'm like, can we find another word besides geriatric?
Right?
But okay, we'll go with geriatric, I guess. So go through that, have to do, just a lot of medical, just checkups through the whole thing. And I remember the day they're like, you're going to have a baby. And I'm like, I'm not ready. Like, I don't feel ready. And they're like, oh, first time nerves. And I'm like, I don't feel ready. And I'm telling my husband and I'm telling the doctors. And obviously my husband is like, you've got to listen to the doctors. Like, they know. And I'm like, no, I don't feel ready. So they put me on Pitocin. And all of a sudden, every time I think they call it like pushing the Pitocin, every time they're putting it through, Hunter's heart rate drops. So then you've got like 7 nurses running in. They're doing like oxygen. They're trying to like bring everything back to normal. This happens like 3 or 4 times. And then finally like, nope, we got to do a C-section like right now. And I'm just like, I knew something was wrong. And then
intuition again.
That intuition. And then with Bodhi, so we're going in, it's my birthday. Bodhi's my second son. It's my birthday. And and he's not due for 2 more weeks. And I'm telling Jeff, and Jeff's like, you're going to have a baby. And I'm like, don't you say that. So we go in and they were like, we think you have preeclampsia. And I'm like, I don't think so. I don't know why. I don't think I do. And they're like, no, you do. So we go in, they're like, we're going to admit you. We'll do a C-section today. But we'll do the blood test to confirm. They do the blood test. It confirms I do not have preeclampsia. So I'm like, okay, can I go home now? And they're like, kind of like, well, we're here. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more medical things that go on behind. Well, we're here. We might as well just do this today. But it was like, well, we're here. We're going to just do this today. And I was like, but I don't have preeclampsia. I'm not having contractions. There's still fluid. I'm not fully understanding what we're doing. But it was kind of like, well, I think they call it like standard of care. Like, this is standard of care. This is just what the book says to do. So then they do it. And so now again, here's another like medical intervention. I'm like, maybe that we didn't need that. So I have a very kind of untrusting history, but I also feel like there was a lot of intuition in that. Like, every time that something happened, I was like, oh, I feel something. Something is not sitting the way it should be sitting, or I got to ask more questions, or I have to, there's something more here. And I'm actually going through right now, I wasn't going to share this, but now I kind of feel like it's a little relevant because I think it kind of brings everything full circle. I had a mammogram. It came back abnormal. So they do a diagnostic mammogram after. It's still abnormal. So now we're doing a biopsy. And it's more of this empoweredness now that I feel like kind of like, well, I'm going to sleep on it. That's one of the things that Zach and I talked about. Like, for my human design, and when things come up and before I make a decision, like, oh, I'm going to sleep on that one. But going through this whole biopsy thing, now I've got this huge distrust of the medical, and I'm asking questions like, well, what are we looking for when we're doing the biopsy? Should I be getting a second opinion? What should I do? So coming from this more empowered state, or this more strength of like, every time your intuition has been like, this doesn't feel right, it's been right. So trust trust in that.
I think that's incredible. I mean, there's so much to unpack in what you just shared, both from how these experiences create these beliefs in the external world and our role in them, your intuition, and how that guided you throughout all of those situations. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I really appreciate you being so just vulnerable and honest. And I really hope that everything you're going through right now, I mean, we always say on the show, we know it will be okay. And I know you and I have talked about that one on one also, but I know how stressful that can be too, not knowing the uncertainty. So just thinking of you and sending so many good vibes and love your way. I'm really curious after listening to you share all of that. Were you ever proactively thinking about healing prior to even signing up for the academy? But more specifically, as you think about your work with Zach, how are you making sense of everything you had gone through before you really tried to dive in and kind of get your arms around it?
Yeah, so I've always been into, like 20 years ago, a lot into like yoga and crystals and kind of a little bit more of that metaphysical world. But I don't think I fully understood what the healing part of that was. I don't think I got the work part of it. So joining Happiness Academy, going to Happy Camp, at some point, like it was almost like a switch flipped, and it was like what I'm doing every day, like I'm going through the motions but I'm not feeling, whether it's really, really happy, really, really sad, everything in between. It's like I'm just kind of beige, right? So I don't think I've actively started to heal and to really work on myself. Probably for a few years I started probably a few years ago. One of the things that Zach and I talked about is I'll just make a decision. If I act before I think, like that's the right thing for me on some things. Like on like Happiness Academy, I saw your thing, I'm like, nope, that sounds good. Like that's perfect. I think I messaged you that day. I'm like, I'm in. I don't think I asked any questions. I was like, sign me up. I'm good. Let's do this. And then what I loved about it was you get to work with different people with your different heroes in the academy. And the minute I met Zach, I think like on my first email to him, like 30 seconds after our first session, was like, I am literally dancing as I'm doing laundry. Like it was meeting somebody who just connected, right? Like I feel like I would say things and he would understand, but then we would bring it back. And the way he broke it down, like when we went through the actual science of human design, I was like, that makes so much sense. Even to the point where I was like, no, like I want Jeff to take a human design class with Zach, because I think there's just so much he could learn about himself, so much we can learn about how to communicate to each other. I'm so excited because we're going to do human design on my children. And more like figure out how we all work together and relate together, because 3 of us are manifesting generators and Hunter's a projector. So I'm so excited to do the family because, you know, with 3 of us as manifesting generators, are we all just running Hunter wild? Like this poor kid is like, I'm with these like energy freaks and I just need a moment. So I'm so excited to do all of us. I'm so excited to keep jumping in.
That is a very similar dynamic to my family, Lauren. So we're going to have to trade secrets after you go deep on that with Zach. I have to ask, now that we're on the topic of human design, what was it about the human design that first drew you in? I think Zach obviously was a big part of that, which I love to hear, because we say on the show, like it's really about who you connect with, right? It's sometimes less about the modality and more about the person that makes you feel safe, seen, and ready to do the work. But did it feel like curiosity or maybe a bit of like desperation at that point, or was it something else entirely? I'm just curious what struck you.
Curiosity first, and then the science behind it. Because if there's ever like where we can put science to something, and then I can bring my husband in and he really gets that. Now we can have these conversations versus some more of like the other things that might be a little bit more woo woo for him, you know? So
Yeah.
where it's something where it's like, because he absolutely believes in, you know, different planes of life. And the first time I mentioned it was like, no, it has to do with the time that we're born and where we're born and how the stars align. He's like, oh, that makes sense. And I was like, wait, what? that okay. So I think it was curiosity. And then again, whenever there's like a science backing to some of the more metaphysical things, I'm all about it. I love that.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. Was there anything different about working with Zach? Like maybe what surprised you about the process during your first reading?
Probably how deep we went the first reading. Usually it's kind of, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what you can expect in the next like 10 sessions. It was like, no, like we're going in. And I just felt so comfortable doing that. And Zach is so respectful about it too, where it's like, do you want to go deeper? Do we want to stay right here? Like, how are you feeling about this? And then I would take that minute and go, okay, how am I feeling? Do I want to go deeper? Is this something that I'm ready to work on today? Is this something that if we work on this today, I might be like destroyed the rest of the day? So I need to take a step back. And it's never been that. It has always been like, let's dive in, let's get a little bit deeper. We go through the question game and kind of just keep digging and digging. And it's like an excavation almost, where you're like, I never would have connected this thing to why I'm feeling this worth issue, or why I'm feeling this. Why am I shutting off the intuition here when I really need to just lean into that?
Yeah, no, I can see how human design would help you kind of navigate some of those situations. How has knowing your type, your authority, your energy centers helped you navigate any fear, grief, or even your relationship with your body after the medical trauma that you experienced?
So two pieces to that. One is really learning like it's that even though sometimes it may not feel, it feels very different for me to say when it's like time for a decision, let me sleep on that. Let me think about it. Like I just want to kind of make snap decisions and I want to move and I want to go. But knowing that like, hey, your design says that sometimes you need to take a step back. And again, I keep saying, can I sleep on it? Because that's been the phrase, that was the phrase that Zach taught me. And I literally have like a little poster up there. Can I sleep on it? To remind me of like, that is an okay question to ask. I don't have to make, decisions like this all of the time. And then the second piece that was so major for me was the first thing that Zach and I talked about was getting back to who I truly am. And I feel like I've always been this chameleon. And if I'm with this group, I can be, do what I have to do to fit in with this group. And if I'm with that group, I can kind of change my personality to fit with that group. And one of the things that Zach said was, but that is who you are. Like your identity through life will be to have many identities. And that's more of a superpower. Like now it's how do we lean into that where it's not a people pleasing identity, but it's a being your authentic self identity. And that has been a game changer for me.
I love that insight. That's got to be such an unlock for you.
Yes.
I mean, Zach, I'm dying to ask you some questions about this. When you first looked at Lauren's chart, what stood out to you in terms of how she might process grief or heal from trauma or navigate some of the things that she's talking about, even with respect to being a social chameleon and doing that without the people pleasing? I love that analogy, by the way. I think that's a really great way of breaking it down and thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, I think you both just broke down the system in your own words so beautifully. And I want to pour that into each of your cups. Chandler, your introduction there. I mean, you found the fortune cookie version of something that people, write 1,000-page books on. And it was just beautiful to witness that. And Lauren, oh my gosh, like I love your chart so much, not because it's so similar to mine, but because when we started talking about it, the information was right there. The dots started to be connected and collected. Sometimes in a human design reading, it's all about revelation, where it's like this mind-blowing. Other times it's more about confirmation, validation, right? These things that are just within reach, but we don't quite have the mental framework. We don't quite have the right idea. We don't even know it's there. And we just like blow a little dust off of something. And when I get to have sessions with people like that, I know that they're somebody who's been doing the work with curiosity, devotion, determination. And so, Lauren, I just want to say that before we start speaking about your chart. These charts are of human beings. And the reason why I don't pretend to know anything more than my clients know is because you're the expert on you, Lauren. You're the expert on you, Chandler. I'm the expert on being Zach. And so when I looked at her chart, I felt like I was looking at a sibling. Honestly, there's like 3 differences between her chart and mine. And if you run the math on that, there are billions of charts, and most of them don't look alike. And so again, kind of back to the beginning where it's like, there's this interesting thing. It's like a portal we step into when we start doing this work really intentionally. We start opening up, like, I think of these little mini portals inside of our systems, and like attracts like. We start finding the right people at the right time. We start finding, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. I'm always trying to be the best student that I can be so I can be around the best teachers. And my clients are all my teachers too. And so just gut level, when I saw Lauren's chart, I absolutely lit up, because I mean, professionally, I'm like, I understand this person. I think we can do a lot in a little time. But then also it's like, I know how brutal the world can be on someone with a design like this, because I've got it too. And going in there and being able to meet so much in there that it like exists in this gray area. I think we all have it, where we're like, is this normal or not? Is this natural or not? Is this healthy or not? Is this correct or not? Some people it's healthy for them. Others it's not. Which one am I? And to go in and find out, okay, for Lauren, it's okay to go fast sometimes. It's okay to go slow sometimes. Like, has anyone listening ever heard that it's okay to do both, be both? Right? I've found people saying one or the other, but for the manifesting generator, for Lauren, it's like, it's okay to know in the moment, and it's okay to need to sleep on it.
I love that. It's just such a permission slip. It gives you kind of the runway to do what feels right and listen to your intuition, and know that even if it feels in conflict in that moment, it is serving you to the highest degree of what is right for you. And I love that. I think that's really cool. So thanks for sharing, Zach. How do you help someone use their chart, not just as information, but as a tool for reclaiming trust in their body, their intuition, and their decision-making capabilities?
Right away, what comes through is a lot of the work I do is teaching people how to start small. You used the word desperation earlier, and that really resonated with me, because I definitely know that experience personally of like going to a healer, a coach, a therapist, just desperate. And I want like everything to change, the sooner the better. And, I've yet to figure out that magic sauce, because how change seems to happen for most of us, with the occasional quantum leap, like the sexy, cool, fun stuff that we hear about on Instagram, like that happens, but more often than not, like the blue chip version of personal development is slow and steady. And so where can we go into a human design chart and find something that almost feels novel? Not one of these old chestnuts we've been trying to crack open for years, but where can we go in and find something novel, something that's a little unique? For example, that Post-it note that Lauren has, I'm going to sleep on this. Right? For some people, that's like, what's novel about that? Well, Lauren's probably got a story or two about that theme, that pattern, and how new it actually felt, and how small it is. It's one sentence that we're going to start integrating into our life. And that can create this kind of cascade of not just different outcomes, but courage, confidence, competence, right? In setting like a boundary, because can I sleep on it is an energetic and a time logistical boundary. And so that's really where I think I'm a little different, right? The bells and the whistles, like there's definitely a version of that I really love, but we've got ChatGPT now, period. Like if you want to learn like all the intricate, like by the book stuff, you don't need me. You don't need a coach to do that. I could maybe accelerate it so that, you could get a week's worth of learning in a couple of sessions, but you really have to want that. And then what do we do with it? We all know more than we apply. And so when I go in, what I love to do is find that one thing, that little thread that we can start pulling on. And then from there, a lot of times it just kind of, it's kind of a self-led process, but finding that first thread, I think, is an art.
What was the first thread that you noticed about Lauren, or maybe that you wanted to help her with the most?
So as a coach, I look for this. When people do that, like that to me is like, I think of coaches, therapists, I think of you, Chandler, as kind of like a spiritual technology, right? We're here facilitating the exchange of ideas and movement, but we're also like this like radar screen, and we're watching people, right? We're taking in, we're looking for their cues in a loving way, in a benevolent way. A lot of people come into coaching and personal development because they've had someone doing that, right, to manipulate them. So again, nervous system, the unconscious experience that we're having in spaces like this, energetic, whether we understand what that is or not, there's an energy to it. And so, yes, as we started going through the chart, I'm scanning with that, spiritual tech that we all have, but that coaches use a lot. Like, where's the moment? Where are the things that are clicking? Nobody wants a human design reading where someone's saying, this is who you are. This is how you do it. And so just like max curiosity going in there with her. And when we came to this idea of it's okay to move fast sometimes, and it's okay to move slowly other times. It's okay to be like spontaneous, like when you just know. And it's also okay to process. Here's what I heard from Lauren. And so that's really where we started to sink our teeth in. And from there, I think we dove down the rabbit hole pretty deep.
Well, I have obviously been hogging the mic, asking each of you a bunch of questions. Zach, do you have any questions for Lauren that you'd love to have her answer? I'm sure there are a few.
Well, I think one question that I have, which oftentimes elicits that same relief, that sigh from people, is this wide open head center that you have, Lauren. Its metaphor is like an open mind. Its shadow side is overthinking. And I'm curious for you, your experience in the world, because I think 50% of the planet has an open head center. So here to be inspired, but also here to overthink, here to also look at the world from lots of different perspectives. I know that people love to hear other people's, way of dealing with that relatable energy of overthinking. What comes through for you, Lauren, when I say like your chart is designed to do both? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think for me, the overthinking part is, and we've talked about this a little bit, where I will literally just talk Jeff's ear off and I will go through every single scenario. And if I do this and then this and if that, and he'll just be like at the end, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, this is what I want to do. And I'm like, all right. So I think that it's the overthinking is I like talking it out and getting it out in this safe and healthy environment versus like doing it all in my head. And I think that when I do it in my head, it almost tends to go into like bad to worse to the absolute versus like, okay, get it all, go through it all. Okay, now make a decision or don't. And I think that that was something that was so important for me. What Zach was saying before was that I don't know that I've ever been given permission, and not that Zach gave me permission to slow down, but it was hearing it from somebody else's perspective of like, it is okay to slow down. It is okay to say, can I sleep on it? It is okay to make a decision because it feels right in the moment. Either one kind of like, it's two things can be true. But with the overthinking, I think it's finding that person or people in your life that you really connect with, that you can trust, and kind of just go through it and this and that and the other. And then have them know you well enough to not make the decision for you, because that never works out, but have them be like, okay, so we've talked this all through. Now, what do you want to do? And even if at that point you're like, I still don't know. Okay, well, let's take a break from it and we'll talk it through at another time. So someone who kind of keeps you in the boundaries and out of your head, but still not spiraling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so juicy, because there are places we can look in the chart where hearing the sound of our own voice is the best way for us to actually process. And this isn't a human design thing, but just something I think about sometimes. The concept of alchemy, where, one person turns a material into another, like lead into gold. And then we get Joseph Campbell talking about alchemy in terms of like turning our inner lead into gold. But physically, when we're thinking, right, that mental activity is happening mainly as electrical synapses, right? So that thinking, that thought is happening in the form of electricity. When we talk about it, we take those same thoughts, we turn them into vibrations, right? There's an alchemy there that is obvious to me. We're turning electricity into vibration. And just that fact alone, I think, signals to the unconscious like that we are aware of all these thoughts in our head, but then it's physically getting it out of the body, right? The electricity is not coming out, but it's been alchemized into these vibrations. Then when we write it down, we're turning it into atoms of ink. And so people talk about like, I'm an alchemist, and, you know, I think of like Gandalf, but literally when we're processing things out loud, we're in that process, right? Turning this electricity, which to me is like a pond that grows algae and mold in it because nothing's moving around. Then we talk about it, we process it, we physically, like these ideas and words are coming out of our body, even if that's just symbolic. There are certain places, projectors in particular, that actually need to hear the sound of their own voice to understand what they're thinking, which sounds so wild to me, but I'll land the plane there.
We're going to have to touch on that at another time because I'm now thinking about my husband who's a projector and trying to see that come to life in the real world. Looking back, Lauren, what do you think your younger self in those hardest seasons most needed to hear or believe?
One of the things that Robin Arizon from Peloton always says is you made it through 100% of your bad days. And that's another sign I have up in my office is you've made it 100%. There is not one bad day that you haven't made it through. There's not one trauma you haven't made it through. You might still be working through it, but you're making it through. I think the other thing is this too shall pass. So where it's, yes, this feels so hard right now and it is so scary. And it's okay. It's okay that it feels hard and scary. This will pass. That is something that I wish my younger self knew, because I think it was a lot of times I just felt like it will always be this way. I will always feel this hurt. I will always feel this ache. And then I think it got to that point where we talked about feeling beige and just feeling like not feeling, just kind of turning it off. And that's when the real work started. And it's like, I don't want to feel this way. This too shall pass. So now what do we need to do? Because just saying it isn't going to have it pass. So now it's what are the actions I'm going to put towards getting out of the beige?
I'm curious, and I don't want to cut you off, but like you talk about the beige and I get the beige, like I was also beige. Was there a moment where you realized or became aware that you were beige? Like, were you living with that being your subconscious state, or do you feel like you had an awareness of it and just were really intentional about changing it? Or was there something that happened that woke you up to it in your life?
I think it was all of those things. I think I knew I was in this kind of beige zone, but I didn't know how to get out of it. And I don't know that, I think I would have said, like, my brain was like, obviously we want to get out of this, but I don't think my heart was in it to do the work to get out of it. It felt like a lot. And then, going through having trauma with 2 children or not the children, having trauma birth and being like, I don't want this for them. Like, I don't want them to ever feel that this is just a normal space to live in. And then I started to do a little bit more work. And I think what I found and what kind of shocked me out of it is like so many people do live in this beige. And it can be better and it doesn't have to be that way. And one of the things that Zach and I talked about was it would be like these big grand things. So it's like once in a while there would be these massive fireworks and like everything was great and very high highs and super amazing versus like, hey, Zach, what if I just had like a sparkler every day? Like instead of having these major high fireworks shows, it was every day was like a sparkler. Every day we lit that little sparkler. And it was like, yes, we can do that. I can do that. And then we like, well, how are we going to do that? And one of the small steps that we took was just once a week, schedule something just for you. So not for the kids, not for Jeff, not for my friends, just for what do I feel? What do I need this week? And is it sitting for an hour and journaling? Because I've done that. It's going to a yoga class. It's one week I was like, I really feel like I haven't had a facial, and I'm going to go get a facial. And doing that for 90 minutes and turning everything off and being like, nope, no contact zone. So I think it's those small things, those everyday little sparklers that now you can really appreciate when it's the big fireworks versus like, okay, we're having this great moment, but now tomorrow I just go back to ho hum.
That analogy brought tears to my eyes. It's so well articulated, and that is exactly what we are trying to do here and in life, right? Like healing is getting your sparkler to grow and glow brighter and brighter every day versus these highs and lows. It's like coming back to life in the middle of your life. And I have not heard anyone describe it quite like you just did. And it just really resonated. It was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. How has human design given you permission to accept, forgive, or even love yourself more through this process?
It's the understanding of it's who I am, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's how do we take this thing that I thought, like being a social chameleon, that can't be a good thing. Like that means I don't know who I am, and turning that into like, this is your superpower. This is amazing. Like, so you can get with this group and be this person and be happy and have fun. And then you can get with this completely different group and be this person and be amazing and be happy and have fun. So it was taking this thing that I always thought was like, what is wrong with me? Like, who am I? And going like, no, my identity is many identities. And that's, one of the things that I've written down that I go back to when I'm feeling like, am I lost? What's happening? I go back to, okay, and that was another thing was, am I giving energy or am I getting energy? So am I giving all of my energy to this group and still feeling, oh, do I fit in? I don't really fit in. Okay, that's not the group then. I'm not living in maybe I fit in just fine. I'm not living in my authentic self being in this group, but if it's this relationship of giving and getting energy and this feels good and I feel good and I walk away and I want to do it again, then yes, now I'm living in my authentic self.
That's incredible. And Zach, I love that you helped give her that and shift that perspective. I mean, I think it's so cool what one session with a connected human can offer in your own path. So thank you for sharing that. Lauren, if you had to describe the woman you're becoming in one word or phrase, what would it be?
Empowered. Definitely empowered. Empowered to ask the questions, empowered to set the boundary, empowered to feel good setting the boundary or asking the questions and not going, oh, what are they going to think of me if I ask the doctor all these questions about my own body and my own health? What is like, duh. Or feeling comfortable to go, I'm going to need to sleep on that, and not like asking like, oh, can I sleep on that? But and I might ask it like, hey, can I sleep on that? But I'm not asking, like, I'm telling you, I'm going to sleep on that so that we can come up with the best thing. So I think it's empowered. And yeah, I think, when you're in that beige state, you're like, I'm always just letting life happen to me, right? Like life is happening to me. Now life is happening for me. Okay. And I can ask the questions, and yeah, are things going to be bumpy? Of course. But I am strong. I am empowered to deal with those things as they come up. And if not, or if I feel like maybe I'm not, I have got this amazing community of people that I can talk to, that I can talk out these feelings, that I can go, well, this is what's happening here. And I'm very fortunate to have met you guys.
I mean, Lauren, there are no perfect answers on this show, but if there were, empowered is it. I love that for you. I see it in your face, in your eyes, like you are that. And it's frankly, like I met you well over a year ago. Was it a year ago now? When did we go to Mexico? I mean, I met you before Mexico over Zoom, but was that this past March? God, time's flying. Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. When I saw you back in March at Katie's Happy Camp, like you were your happy, bubbly self as I've known you to be, but like this feels like a different version of you. It really does. And I love the energy you are bringing, not just to this conversation, but that I can tell persists in your everyday life. And I'm really happy for you and grateful for you coming on and sharing this experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zach, I would be remiss to ask for someone brand new to human design, since many of our listeners probably are. What's one gentle first step to start exploring without feeling overwhelmed?
There's a question that I love, and it applies to everybody, and it's a great place to start thinking about such things. And it's, we've all heard people say, oh, if only I'd listened to my gut. Oh, my intuition was telling me something and I didn't listen to it. We've all said it. We've all heard it. I am 43 years old. I've never heard somebody say, I really regret listening to my gut. I've never heard someone say that. Oh, I shouldn't have listened to my gut. And so I like to start with just a little mental framework without having to commit to anything. And so I think that's a great question to chew on. I'm sure eventually someday someone will say, oh, I've said that. And then I'll have to revise my theory that no one's ever said it ever. Beyond that, a way of dipping our toes into the design is to pull your chart. And nobody owns astrology. No one owns the I Ching. It's not, astrology trademarked. And so there's a million places that we can get a chart. And when you pull it, don't immediately say, I don't understand what any of this means. Give yourself the gift of when you see your chart for the first time, you'll only get to see it for the first time once. Let your curiosity, your imagination, that creative part of you, whether it's large or small, let it guide your eyes. See where it lands on. Are you drawn to a particular number sequence? Are you drawn to a particular shape or color? Are you drawn to some of the words? And then write that down. Because I wish I had done that. I wish that I had told the clients my first 5 years doing this to do that. Because I think there's a unique seed in there that kind of will guide what will keep you interested in the system if it's for you. And so start small, get your chart. Don't try to get it all figured out. Do the opposite, right? Play in the mystery, the wonder, the newness, the complete mystery of what you're looking at. Because most people, when they see it for the first time, it looks like something out of like a science manual.
I second that. It is very scientific when you pull it and take that first glance. What's one misconception people have about human design, in your opinion? And how is it actually a tool for healing versus just personality typing?
Oh, I love this question. I think the main misconception that folks have, and I completely understand why, is that this is just some woo-woo offshoot of the New Age. And it has definitely flavors of kind of the New Age spirituality in terms of thinking about chakras and thinking about how energy flows between us and inside of us. But to just cast it out with an eye roll, I think is throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And so that first one, that it's just like woo-woo, it's relying on systems that have been around for millennia. And we all know human beings well enough to know that if something doesn't work for long enough, we don't bring it into the next generation and the next generation. We're constantly triaging and weeding out the things that generation by generation are no longer relevant because they don't hold water. Well, astrology's been around for a long time. It's been passed through lineages and generations, not secretly, but publicly. Like everybody most people in the West anyway, understand what astrology is. But it also exists in the East. There's Vedic astrology. There's other massive forms that have been doing what? Looking for patterns. And then we go to hard science, biology, chemistry, physics. What do? They look for patterns. Has this been studied in a lab and proven? And can we put patents on any of this stuff? Not really, not yet. But can you teach a fish how to climb a tree? No, right? Fish still exist. Fish are still legitimate. And so I've got a fire in my belly around this because I'm currently in the process of becoming a licensed therapist, and I'm interested in where astrology, human design overlap in a completely professional way with the world of Western psychotherapy.
Well, Zach, I didn't know that, first off. So congrats on you becoming a licensed therapist. I think that's so thrilling, and you're going to be incredible at that work. Incredible. But also side plug, you and Hero Ophira need to get together because she in recent months has like taken a deep dive into human design. So this astrology human design overlap, I feel like you guys would be up forever talking. You guys could have a very long dinner conversation on that. But that's so exciting. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that sentiment, and I just really appreciate how you bring things to life for listeners. So thank you for that. Lauren, to close out the conversation, what is one takeaway that you would offer listeners who might be where you once were, feeling either stuck or in the beige, or maybe in a period of uncertainty that's rocked them to their core? Is there any advice or words of wisdom that you would share with those listeners today?
Yeah, the first thing would be, again, going back to this too shall pass, right? Like, we're in this moment. It is just a moment in time. It doesn't feel like it, but this too shall pass. And then the second thing would be, what is like one step? What is the one thing that you can do? And sometimes it's as small as, like, I would go to Trader Joe's and go in their little flower section and just buy myself beautiful flowers. And it was just that one little thing, to have some sunflowers sitting in my office, that would just go, okay, just a little bit happier, like 1%. And that's one of the things, again, going back to Zach and I, if I could be 1% happier every single day in 100 days, that is 100% happier. So what is that
Yes.
little thing that just today you can do? Is it buy flowers? Is it like, and I joke about this, but is it go touch grass? Because there are times when I love to just go walk around with no shoes on. Is it sit by, sit under a tree and meditate? Is it doing something big for yourself and signing up for a happiness academy, taking a class, what is that one step today that you can do for yourself?
I love that advice, and it's so accessible for everyone listening. So thank you for sharing that, Lauren. And I could not agree more. I think that's a beautiful place to start. Lauren, Zach, thank you for your willingness to get vulnerable today and generous with your experiences, your stories, and your time. I so appreciate both of you being here today.
Thank you.
And thank you, Chandler, and thank you, Lauren.
And to those listening, let today be a reminder for you all that your design is intentional and unique to you. And even in the deepest pain or uncertainty, healing and alignment are possible. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please share it with friends and don't forget to subscribe. You can also visit healingheroespodcast.com to get resources, meet the heroes, and share your ideas for future episodes. Thanks for listening, everyone. And until next time, remember, be curious, be courageous, and be kind to yourself. You've got this.